Good afternoon, America. Tommy Jordan here. It's quarter to 4 Eastern Time, January 11th, 2021. This is going to be a long video. I just apologize for that up front, but I want to take a minute and discuss the realities I don't think people really understand about what would happen to our country if we really had an insurrection, a real insurrection. Because I think there's a lot of things the average person just hasn't really taken into account. I'm 43 years old. When I was 20, 25, even 30, my perceptions were different. I work in government at a local level. I work in county government. I'm a county commissioner. So I'm not in the House. I'm not in the Senate. I'm not in Congress. I don't pretend to have those insights. But I have learned some things being where I'm at now that I didn't know that have shaped how I might react. My reactions have matured a little bit since I was in my young 30s. Maybe that's just age. I'm not arguing for or against an insurrection. I'm just painting a picture to let you know, or some of you know, what the actual ramifications of it might be. The argument 10 years ago would have appealed to me that, rise up and take back what's ours and fight for America and restore our values. And that was kind of a naive thought because I just assumed that's how it would work out. I mean, hell, we got the guns, we got the ammo, we are the ones that work hard, we have the work ethic, we were raised to do hard work. I mean, we're just going to win. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's just suppose for a minute all that's even true. Doesn't change anything that I'm about to tell you. Our country is so polarized right now that there is no appeasing either side. There's no room in either conversation right now for moderate talk. Both sides are firmly in agreement that you're either with us or you're against us. There's black, there's white. There's no room for gray. There's no room for finding common ground, for compromise. And as much as I dislike it, compromise is what makes the world go round. No. I mean, if otherwise, if we, the Republican side, I'll say won, and I'm not one of these Trump conspiracy theorists that you're seeing pop out of the woodwork right now. That's not me. I'm not one of the ones saying there's going to be a blackout and that Trump signed the Insurrection Act and he's going to. Oh my God, that's not me. But again, even if it was me and even if it's you, nothing about your perception right now affects what I'm about to say. The truth is still the truth, and none of this truth should offend you or go in conflict with your sensibilities. These are just the ramifications of what happens if either side gets their way. And by either, let us say it this way: these would be the ramifications if our government if we had a march on Washington and it was a total meltdown, and we literally, it got so far and so crazy that elected officials were taken outside and killed, or hung, or shot, or whatever it is people seem to want to do to them. If our government was totally taken down and ripped apart, what would happen? Okay, well, here's some things that would for sure happen. And I had to take some notes to get this into perspective, because we all think about how we would handle it. Well, I mean, I'll be fine. I'll sit here in my house and with all my guns, and believe me, I got a lot of them. I got more guns than I got fingers to pull triggers. That ain't the point. At some point, I can't eat bullets. I'm gonna have to work. I'm gonna have to pay my bills. I'm gonna have to buy beef. I'm gonna have to buy corn. So, and I've got family. My mother is in her 70s. I have family that is more financially prepared than me. I have family that is less financially prepared than me, that lives paycheck to paycheck. So what's some things that would happen just overnight, like right out of the gate, if we tore our government to pieces so bad that we had to erect another one? And even if we wanted to use the same Constitution as a premise for it, if the government gets torn down and we have that time in the middle where we're trying to figure things out, what happens? Well, figure that all government housing subsidy programs, those are gone overnight. Anything the government funds is gone. The checks will stop being written. There's no one left in government to oversee it, and the ones that might still be there and be alive are getting the hell out of town because you've been killing the other ones. So they're not, it's not like people are going to show up at the IRS to work the next day, and the Treasury to work the next day if there's no Congress, if there's no Senate, and there's no House, and the president's been assassinated, or the president's been, in hiding somewhere because the government's on fire and the White House has been burned to rubble. The government's going to stop. It's going to completely fall apart. It's going to fall apart on almost immediate fashion. So figure, government housing, people who rely on subsidies to get by, they're now just done for. And maybe that's you, maybe it's not. But my mother relies on her Social Security. So, she worked all her life, but she's retired, and she gets that Social Security check. Well, those are going to stop. So any of you that got family on Social Security, you might as well prepare for them to move in. Mom's going to have to take a room upstairs because none of us are going to keep paying her rent and her power bills. That's just nuts. We're not going to be able to afford to, so she's got to come live with us. And maybe that's you, maybe it's not. Maybe you got 5 family members that have to come live with you. But keep in mind, if you're one of these that's prepared, you better be a lot more prepared than you think you are. In 2018, we had 40 million people in poverty. Well, 37.8, if you want to be precise, according to the numbers. Look at the year we just lived through, 2020. Most of us just lived through. Imagine doing all of what we're about to talk about in the middle of a pandemic, which, if you believe it or not, doesn't matter. People are still dying hand over fist from this thing. So in addition to having a war or an insurrection, we're doing it in the midst of trying to deploy a vaccine to 330 million people across the United States, which is not going smoothly, even when our government is functioning. So it's sure as hell going to just stop. You figure the vaccine efforts just dry up and go away. They're done. Because the health insurance industry is going to collapse overnight. That's done. No more hospitals taking payments because they can bill Joe Schmo government program, your government-funded insurance. Nope, that's going to quit. They know that. It's going to be cash only, probably. I'm not saying cash only, but you can figure that insurance is going to become a real thing of the past real fast. Maybe not today, maybe not in a week, but probably within a month. And without a government to oversee it, that's got established protocols. No reason for them to follow the old protocols. They'll just run rampant, unchecked, and do things however that particular company decides they want to. You have no protections in that market. What if you depend on medications paid for by subsidies? Maybe you're diabetic. Maybe you're on AIDS medication. Maybe you're getting subsidies, insurance breaks for cancer chemo drugs. That's done. That's done. You hang that up. So all you diabetics better prepare to pay whatever somebody wants to charge to get your insulin. And I got a feeling it's going to be 700-800% of what it is now overnight. Any local governments that get state and federal grants, those are gone. That new $3 million that my county is going to get for that water project, nope, gone. That money's out the door. What about that school funding for teachers? No, there's way more things to worry right now. That's gone. We'll try to get it back to you when we can, but for right now, you're on your own. That's going to be the conversations. Governments at every level are going to have nobody to depend on, no trust in the system because people burn the system down. So there's going to be no real government money doing much of anything, which is going to drastically destroy most of your lives. Social Security, like I said, is gone. The IRS will probably collapse, in a month, which is fine, but where's the government going to pay its bills? Where's the government going to get the money to send those checks to China each month to pay for the debt that we owe them? Who's going to fix a road? Who's going to continue to build that hospital? Who's going to continue to, fund the post office? Well, nobody. All that stops. That's all gone. Anything that uses government money that you can think of just ceases to exist or ceases to function. Again, until we get a new system. But don't think for a second that's going to be a fast process. That's going to be a multi-year process. conservative Republicans are not going to accept anybody that Democrats throw up, and Democrats are not going to accept anybody conservative Republicans throw up. So they're going to continue to fight, and actually fight, because if they've gone so far as to take down the government, they're not scared about killing each other as well. I don't mean everybody. I just mean the nut jobs, the extremists on both sides are not that concerned about it. They'll do it. So it's going to bicker and bicker and bicker and bicker until both sides get so worn down that eventually a moderate, somewhat sensible voice or two gets to speak up, and maybe some traction gets to get started about how we elect a new House of Representatives and how we elect a new Congress, because we can't even elect the president until we elect them. And then we got to appoint a new speaker, and who's going to do that? Because in the entire history of our country, no one's ever actually tried to destroy the entire government and then build it again. You remember, all the guys that did it the first time kind of sort of got along, at least enough to give us these documents and give us a place to start. We want to burn it all down on day one and have nothing left. Who's going to elect the next senator? Who's going to appoint people to the U.S. House of Representatives? You're just going to make decisions and hope yours wins? There has to be a process in place for that. And you burn the government down, literally, there's no one there. We got to have a 3/5 quorum on so-and-so. Can't have a 3/5 quorum because ain't nobody here. And the ones that are here, and half of them are dead, half of them are in hiding. Nobody's going to show up. The Senate can't do anything. The House can't do anything. Our government literally is gone overnight. Let me see. Import, export regulations and processes, those are going to collapse totally within a week or two. Say goodbye to any food or drinks that you get from overseas. Clothing comes out of China. Amazon will fall flat tomorrow. Half of us won't know how to survive. The internet would go totally batshit. I actually can't really predict how, but it would. It would probably, for the most part, stay up, but it would become more unreliable than it was back in the 90s, and I'm not sure if it could survive entirely intact either, but that's another story. Hyperinflation, that would certainly happen overnight, because the whole world will watch, which is what we keep saying is the strongest economy on the planet, tank itself. Trust in the U.S. dollar goes through the roof, stock market crashes. So anybody that's rich that has money, that's gone. Anybody that's poor that had some money, you definitely ain't getting any more. And with hyperinflation, what you had is going to buy less than half of what it did yesterday. Hyperinflation is a real thing, and it's a very serious consequence anytime a government becomes unstable. And it manifests itself in very simple ways. And yes, I'm oversimplifying in case John Ignacio chooses to watch this and lecture me on it later. I'm saying this for dumb people, so for God's sake, don't break out your scholarly books and try to smack me in the face with it. I'm just talking in terms that your average person can understand. Hyperinflation. Toilet paper was hard to get for a while there, right? And it was like, it went from 50 cents a roll to a dollar roll. Imagine when it's $8 a roll. That's gonna suck. Imagine when green beans are $7.99 a can, not 89 cents a can. A loaf of bread's $5, not $2. That quickly eats up what we have in terms of savings. That money's gone. Again, we talked about people that were already poor and in poverty to begin with. That number's got to have gone up to around 60 or 70 million right now. Think about it: 70 million people in poverty. It sounds like an abstract number until you remember there's only 330 million people in this country. So if 60 to 70 million of them are now destitute to the point of they would really rather shoot you and take your food than whatever alternative that they've exhausted, that means 1 in 7 people are going to be without a place to live, a way to survive. Not just a way to be prosperous, a way to survive. They would actually be more concerned with preserving their physical life and the life of their children and families than they would obeying the laws, being a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of those guys. I'm as nice as I can be, and I'll do anything for anybody until it gets to the point that my family were going to starve to death. In which case, I'd become a whole different kind of guy that you would not want to be standing outside in the open if I was within 300 yards. That would become me, and it'd become a lot of people just like me. It's horrible to say, but it's the truth. So rioting would become an everyday, everywhere thing. I mean, there wouldn't really be any national news, not so much, not to what was halfway as reliable as it is now, and that's kind of a joke, but you couldn't trust anything that you heard. So rioting would be everywhere. Big cities, small cities, rural places. Don't think for a second that those of us out here in the country are protected. No, not at all. Not from that level of chaos. Not at all. Massive swaths of our entire economy and industry would just disappear, leaving millions jobless, not to mention leaving us without the things that we depend on, like airlines gone. Airline travel, thing of the past. It's gonna quit. I mean, hell, they needed $25 billion a month ago to get through things. That money's not coming anymore. Nobody's doing a damn thing. The FCC, it will become useless. And I mean, that's it. Airlines are gone. Commuter transport or commercial transportation, probably gone. It would be an incredibly scary place to live. It would be something out of a dystopian novel. I mean, not quite Mad Max, only with better costumes. People don't understand what. I really don't think they do. They really don't understand what they're talking about when they say it's okay. Let's just start again. It's not like it would be a peaceful process. So I say all this to tell you that I honestly don't care. I'm prepared. I am prepared. What's the word I'm looking for? I have enough of a preparedness mindset. I'm probably going to be okay regardless, and my loved ones are going to be okay regardless. My loved ones are going to shrink to a much smaller circle than they are today. Today, I love a lot of people. They're great folks. I count them. I count a lot of them as friends. The world changes that way. Everybody's circle of love becomes a whole lot smaller, and your circle of responsibility becomes a whole lot more fierce. And that's the fire we're playing with right now. People just think that, and in this regard, I am talking to the conservative Republicans who are my fellow Republicans. I am a conservative Republican. I'm proud of that. I'm not the slightest bit part of this far right conspiracy shit that's going on right now. But I do have Republican conservative values. I don't know why they don't just call it Republicative. That would just be a whole better word. Anyway, I lost my point. My point was, I think they think that it's going to be, we kick Biden out and we invalidate so-and-so and we take Kamala Harris out of the equation and Nancy Pelosi gets fired and we're just going to put new people in there. How are you going to do that? Who's going to give you the authority to do that? Do you think the other side, who is fully in support of those people, are going to allow that to happen? It's going to be more actual bloodshed. And I don't think people are weighing things correctly in their mind. Would I have a problem picking up a firearm, putting on body armor, and fighting for my country or for my beliefs? Not at all. My gun is over there. My body armor's over there. I got more in the back room. I will gladly go fight for my country. That's not what should scare you. What should scare you is, what are your wife and kids doing? What's your mother and your aunt and your uncle and your grandparents doing? How are they surviving while you're busy doing that? I mean, that's what we're focused on. Is I'm going to fight for my country. Well, great, fight for it. I mean, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do that either way. Like I said, I'm prepared for any eventuality. I was the ultimate Boy Scout growing up. Be prepared for everything. Okay, fine. But what do my friends do? I'm going to sit here and watch friends I love, starve to death. Dogs are barking. Prime Guy's here. Hold on a second. Okay, Prime Guy's gone. In case anybody calls attention to it, I have a new patch on my hat. Not because I wanted to put that patch on my hat, but because this new German Shepherd puppy ate my American flag. You little Nazi. So I bought some more patches. In the meantime, They aren't all here yet, but this one is. So I'm going to begin this video with a Punisher flag, and I'm going to end this video with a, oh wow, that patch is kind of big, but it's out there. My American flag with a canine paw on there. Look at that. Okay, so no one is really thinking through. I don't think the majority of you aren't really thinking through what the world would really look like if we burned our government to the ground. We would go, and maybe I'm wrong. Somebody I'm sure someone's going to tell me all the ways I'm wrong in the comments below, believe me. But I believe truly we would degenerate into a third world shithole within about 15 days. I mean, seriously, that fast. People think the world, that life would just go on and it would be normal for a while. And it's going to be bad here. You know, this may get bad and that may get bad, but I'll make it through. Really? Do you rely on the internet and communication systems for business continuity right now with COVID? Because you can forget that becoming stable. That'll be gone. Companies will be just left to do whatever they want, however they want. I mean, there's no Supreme Court anymore. They're gone. They don't have any authority. So not until we form an entirely new government and decide to keep them and let them go, replace them, change the entire. I mean, you're talking years. This is a multi-year process. This is a 3, 4, 5 years it would take to get our country back up to even the lowest level of what I would call meh standards. Let's not forget for a second, while all this is going on, now remember, the U.S. is falling apart. A lot of people hate our country. I mean, I can't think of a better time for Iran to send a nuke. I can't think of a better time for North Korea to send all the nukes they've been talking about. You know, Russia, I don't think they'd send them. I think they'd just let everybody else do it. China, same way. But then what do? I mean, if our government gets that bad and we become such a obvious target, rife to be taken over, you face the possibility that could actually happen. Some massive country that just can't stand us decides to make us their next province or state or part of Russia, part of China, whatever. Those are real global consequences that there's no way to walk back. Not saying that it would happen, but if some other country somewhere in the world decide to be opportunistic, we don't have the ability to stop them. Not then. We have no functioning form of government. We have no functioning control over the military. I can't even begin to fathom what would happen to the military command structure. I really believe that it would stay intact for a while, and it would do its best to maintain itself in each individual branch as long as they possibly can, maybe even for a couple of years. But if things didn't get better, I mean, I don't know what we would do. Maybe we wind up as two countries. There's the western side and the eastern side, and there's the new Republic of the United States. I don't know, but I do know that what you people are threatening and thinking about, you won't be able to dial it back. If you go that route, if we get that far, there's no turning around and going, well, I'm just kidding. I didn't think that through. Now that we thought that through, I really wish we hadn't shot that guy. Too late. It's done. I don't know. I look at all the people that post this stuff. Trump's going to be president still on January 22nd, and he's going to be in the White House for 4 more years. And General Flynn is going to be the new vice president. I think from what I heard, because I guess we're just going to kill Pence. I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but Pence is a traitor. We're going to kill Pence. And the one guy that's been loyal to him longer than probably anybody else, but whatever, I don't even know. Anyway, of the people that I see post that stuff, I sit back having these thoughts in my head and think, well, you'd be dead in a month. You'd starve to death in 2 weeks. You don't have any life skills that would make you last 6 months in that kind of environment. little bit, she'd be all right. You know, most of these people, they wouldn't be able to exist in this new world that they keep wanting to fight for. So I'm neither for nor against replacing our government, because I do think maybe it's true that we are so divided that there's no coming back. I hope not. I hope that's not true. I hope we can preserve this republic we have and calm down long enough to have an actual conversation, or 10, because there's a lot of conversations that need to happen. But there's also, and here's part of the problem. So many things that we are demanding right now, both sides are demanding. My wife said it best the other night when her and I were discussing this. It's people have mistaken their wants for their needs. I need this. We need this. This party needs this. And you want it. You don't need it. It doesn't affect your survival. It doesn't affect your ability to make money or pay your rent. You really don't need it. You just want it. And not that these wants aren't important wants. I'll try to think of an example. LGBTQ, whatever the acronym is at the moment, rights, okay? I'm neither LGBT or Q, but I'm S, straight. But I'm not denying that anyone's lifestyle choice is invalid. But that's just one example of a group that we want to get this, we want to get that, and they got to strike while the iron's hot. I'm like, not that it's not important, it's just not as important as other shit right now. Like, are we going to survive as a country for the next 30 days? I'm not saying hush. I'm just saying simmer down for a minute till we can put some of these bigger fires out. Because if we don't put these fires out, that conversation really won't matter. And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to be marginalized. Nobody will accept being marginalized because that's how they take it. I don't know that our country has the patience to stop itself from imploding. But I hope so. I don't even know that any of these words will matter, that anyone would see it, or that if you see it, you would agree. But I hope people will just think it through. Think of the actual ramifications of what we're talking about. Don't just forget the shooting that guy and tearing that guy out of power, and just forget that. What is the rest of the world that's not actively either pulling triggers or riding at that moment? What is the rest of the nation going to be doing while that's going on? How will they be surviving? And what unforeseen consequences will the actions that we're considering taking have on those people? If it's going to shove 100 million people into poverty, then no. I'd rather deal with a Democratic president for 4 years and hopefully find a way to move forward in 2024. I'm not worried about me being inconvenienced. My personal rights and liberties aren't really going to be that inconvenienced, because I'm not going to let them. But it doesn't mean that I think we should either have this line of, if you don't do this, we're just going to burn the country down. That's an extreme reaction. That's not really a mature reaction. And it's not usual that I'm the mature guy in the room. Let's be honest about that. I'm usually the loudmouth in the room. If you watch my videos, I'm the one that, I'm just not used to being the voice of reason. Maybe it's not reason. Maybe some of you are going to think I'm off my rocker, and maybe so. I don't have a degree in economics. I don't have a poli-sci degree. I didn't study it in college. I just think of the things I see from my role in government and the way things are interconnected. And these are just things I've thought of that I thought of and thought, damn, I bet this would happen and that would happen and that would happen. Has anybody thought about that? There may be more things I haven't thought of yet. Put them in the comments below. This video is 29 and a half minutes long. I'm going to shut up. This is Tommy Jordan. If you like what I've got to say, subscribe below to my channel. If you don't, best of luck to you. I hope everybody gets through this fine. I don't hate anybody. I want you guys to think it through. All right? consider what you're doing. Have a good day, y'all.